Hello, my name is Alex Aungst, CHS class of 2019. The date of this recording is Sunday, February 1st, 2026 at, let's read the date here, time, 4:45 Eastern. This interview is being recorded in person at my home in East Freedom. Adam, if you'd like to do the honors of introducing yourself, what class year, years played, what you played, that'd be appreciated.
Adam Counterman, class of 2000. I marched at Central from the years 95, 97, 98, and then marched in a few parades after that because we had relocated to Delaware. I played trumpet, still play trumpet, been playing for 34 years.
34 years? That's incredible. So just some things I'm kind of interested in. So how did you first get involved like with the band? What do you remember about what in particular made you become interested in joining the marching band?
I was called on the phone by another band member and asked to join the high school band and play with them and march with them. And that got me in. Yeah. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's all it takes. Was the band like big at the time you joined? Would there have been like a few trumpets? How many trumpets would there have been playing alongside you?
I want to say there was about 12 trumpets at the time. There was about 50-ish kids playing, and probably about another 15 to 20 as guard.
Yeah.
So it was big then. It was pretty big that year. And then my last 2 years, I played in the last couple years that I also helped with the band. They were down to a group one, so it was around 30 kids. About 30 playing, about 28 playing members, 24 playing members, somewhere in there.
Were there any differences in like the groups, like when they numbered the groups for ACCs and stuff like that?
If I remember right, group one was up to like 30. Group two, I think, was up to 60. I think group three was up around 90. And then I can't remember about group four, something like that. I could be wrong, but it was in those ranges somewhere. But we were group two my first year, and then group one the next 2 years that I marched.
When you joined the band, meeting Jack Shaffer, what stuck out to you about him?
Oh, his long flowing gray hair, his shirts with holes, and jeans that had holes and paint splattered all over them. One pink, one blue sock. And first time I ever met him, I didn't actually really meet him. I was just told to sit here by a couple air trumpet players. And so I sat and was given the music. And he came out and said what we were playing. And he stood there in front of all of us. And he was kind of a scary looking guy first time I saw him.
Was this with the paint splatter and stuff?
Oh, yeah. This midsummer, end of June, beginning of July, somewhere in there. And he came out, said, "We're playing Candide." Okay, you pull that one out. It's all handwritten music. He had 2 doctorates in music. And it's all handwritten. I've never seen this music before in my life. And I realized I am not as good of a trumpet player as I thought I was at that moment in my life.
You found it humbling?
Extremely humbling. All these kids, they all knew that music. They had been playing it for 2 months at that point. This is the first time I ever saw it. And he drops his head, throws his hands up, and 1, 2, 1, and just went to town. And I was like, holy crap, I got to practice.
You got work cut out.
I got to really practice on this. And then I know I screwed up a note, and he heard us, and we're all sitting right in front of him, and I'm sitting dead center in front of him, and I knew it was me. And the most terrifying thing in my life to this, in my 44 years, was him going down the line and making each one of us play that part. And I said, I'm sight reading this, and I played it perfect that time, and then I'm pretty sure I screwed up the next time we all played it as a whole band. So,
was it like when stuff like Candide, was that stuff he would write by himself, or would it be people like Barry Malott or anybody else?
So Barry wrote the drill. He wrote out our drill. Jack would take different songs and he would write them out, hand wrote all this stuff out, have it all handwritten, and then we would all learn it, sit down, play it. He would, once we got really pretty proficient at it, would time it, and then we'd start cutting bits and pieces out of it. Like, we're going to lose all of H. We're going to lose all of I. Okay, whatever. Just cross it out and keep on going. And
he wanted you to be that precise.
Yeah. Stuff, once in a while, stuff would get a little watered down. Like, it would sound great in a band room, but then up on the field playing it at 160 beats a minute, trying to run across the field, like a bunch of 16th notes or 8th notes just didn't sound right. So we, water it down a little bit if we had to or something like that. But I played with a lot of very talented kids, and I have the utmost respect for everybody that I played with in that band, and the utmost respect for Jack Shaffer as a person.
Yeah, I'm reading these scores from the TOB info site, like just from 96 to 2000, like exception of 1998, you'd always get like honors and stuff like high brass and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What do you credit as like our particularly strong factors in making that high brass stand out, other than you, of course?
Wasn't me. He knew the band he was going to have that next year. He wrote his shows for that band. And every year that I was in it, my last 2 years, we had 9+ trumpets on the field. We were the biggest section out of all the sections of instruments.
9 or more, so trumpets.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
And I remember Barry having us written on the sheets. I wish I still had those drill sheets, but I don't have them anymore. But I remember seeing T1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on down the line. And then I was kind of somewhere in the middle because he lined us all up by height.
By height?
Yeah. So the tallest one was 1, and then it just kind of went on down the line. Just in that way, for all the drill moves, like you weren't seeing varied heights. It just kind of looked like a nice even line.
They would actually measure you, like to get your part.
They just have us all stand in a line and be like, okay, you're 1, you're 2, you're 3, you're 4.
That's the precision they were looking for.
That was what they were looking for, and just to try to keep. And he did that with every section, but it was just so that the lines looked straighter, looked neater. It was very much about precision. We did a lot of precise drill, a lot of subsets and subsets. I could show you any of the videos on YouTube that I have, and I could point out to you exactly where I'm at, and I could tell you about this drill move and that drill move, and the intricacies of this, and you better be on this dot in 2 steps, otherwise you're getting run over and the whole thing falls apart.
You felt like you could still march like most of that show today, something like that?
I don't know if I'd be able to run around like I did when I was that age.
Oh, I mean, just like,
exactly. I put on a little bit of weight since then. But
you know what step to take.
Oh, yeah. I can sit there and my kids will laugh at me watching it, and I'll start marking time like where I was at in the show, and they'll be like, well, where were you at here? And I'm like, oh, right here. And then we did this foot move and whatever, and
Did you ever treat that seriousness you took in competitions? Was it always the same across the board, like not just competitions or parades, but also like football games?
Well, yeah, because if we screwed up in a football game, that meant we had 2 to 3 more hours of practice the next day before we even had our first competition.
Oh.
And probably about 4 or 5 run-throughs before we even had our the first competition.
Would you
of a 10-minute show?
Oh, sorry. Would you practice after like football games, like right after? Or?
Not usually after. Usually we practiced. So we have block scheduling. I don't know if Central still does that or not now, but we did block scheduling back in. So you had 90-minute classes. So BAM was our first class. That was 90 minutes. So we practiced that whole first hour and a half at school. Then we had our 3 lunch periods. 2 of the lunch periods we practiced some more for another hour, just sitting in the band room cleaning music. And then at 2:45 we were up on that hill till 5 o'clock. And running through the show and practicing drill and cleaning up drill, and then practicing cleaning up the music while we ran the drill. And then usually we did a run through at the end of the day, and then usually something got screwed up and we did the run through like two more times usually. But that was Monday to Thursday. Friday we didn't practice because we had a football game. And then usually if it was a home game, we usually kind of ran through like the first 7 minutes of it. If it was an away game, we did the entire show. Depending how well that show went on that night, dictated how much we practiced the next day. And if we didn't do a good show at the football game, didn't matter if it was pouring down rain and you're in rain jackets and you're in jeans and coats with the raincoat on,
It still need to sound
and you're
good.
soaked, it had to be as perfect as it could possibly be. And if it wasn't, well, you were practicing more.
No.
Yeah. And be like, hey, we're supposed to show up to high school at 8 o'clock the next day. Oh, hey, make sure everyone's here at 7. I'm like, okay. And then we'd find some random parking lot somewhere and mark it off, and we'd practice.
Were there any events that you would do besides like parades or competitions?
I was also in the brass group, so we played a lot of churches coming into Christmas and into Easter. Usually that was pretty much everybody in the brass section did that. I don't know that I really ever had a choice in that matter. We just did it, and he just told you were doing it, and you just accepted you were doing it. But I was proud to do it, and we played, his arrangements of Tuxedo Junction. I'm trying to think what else. A bunch of Christmas songs. The football songs, some of that stuff he wrote out himself. There was CHS, which was our fight song. We played Notre Dame. He hand wrote that one out.
The victory march.
Yeah. That one.
Yeah.
I remember he had that one hand wrote out. We had a bunch of other ones that were like stock off the shelf, like Tequila. Jeremiah was a bullfrog. Proud Mary. I'm trying to think what else. That's the ones that come back to my head, but I know we had quite a few of them.
That CHS fight song.
Yeah.
I do remember asking about that in like the Facebook group.
Yeah.
That was that sounded, from the clips that I can find online, it sounded kind of like the U of F like fight song, like Orange and Blue. A little bit of it at least.
I don't know. It was da 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 da
Yeah,
da
that
da da.
one.
Yeah. And I'll write that out for you. I still remember that one.
Yeah. I remember like pulling up a YouTube clip. There was University of Florida Orange and Blue, and I listened to it. I compared the two,
Okay.
and it sounded pretty much identical except for the ending.
Okay.
The ending sounded more like the Ohio State fight songs.
Back then, I mean, the internet was in its infancy. YouTube wasn't even a thing. Google didn't exist. So, unless you knew that fight song, you really didn't know what to look for.
Right.
I just found out a couple years ago Altoona uses On Wisconsin for their fight song. I didn't know that until just recently, kind of embarrassingly, but
A lot of schools overuse that one on Wisconsin.
yeah.
Yeah. Just about the football games. How'd the schedule look? Was it normally pregame, or did you also have the opportunity to perform halftime?
If it was home game, it was pregame. And then I said we would, depending how time was, usually we ran like the first 7 minutes of our 10-minute show. And then we would just form an arc, play a national anthem, and then usually played CHS, and the football team ran out in the field, and then we'd go up in the stands, take our seats, and then whatever he told us we were playing, we played during a game. If we got a touchdown, it was CHS. Got the extra point with CHS. Throughout the rest of the game, it was, if there was a play made, we played something. If it was a big play made, it was CHS. But usually it was just kind of stuff to get the crowd kind of riled up again. Cheerleaders would kind of they would do their thing. We'd kind of bounce back and forth a little bit. But yeah, if it was an away game, then we did our full halftime show.
Oh.
Yeah, we played halftime. Home band, how it was back in my day, was the home band played pregame, and the away band played halftime.
They get the entire halftime?
And you get the entire halftime.
Oh.
And we go out there and run our entire show. My last year that I marched in '98, my dad and I built these mobile pits for out in the field. We just went and put the backdrops on them for the football games. But for the competitions, the backdrops got put on. And Time Rep Local's mom, Tia, she's the one that painted them. So if you ever looked at '98 on YouTube,
Yeah.
she painted all those.
All those. Wait, how many people would it take to make all of those?
I don't know. My dad and I built all the pits. Um, in '98, and when I was in 10th grade, Central hosted county band, county chorus, district band, and so my building trades class had to build a stage extension and double the size of the stage. And we were supposed to tear it down at the end of the year, and we ran out of time.
Oops.
So, about the third week into June, Jack came up to me after practice one day, and maybe it was into July. It might have been into July by then, I think. And he was like, "Hey, your class built that. We paid for all that. We need that wood for our mobile pits. Like, we bought all that stuff. Can you tear it apart?" I'm like, "Okay." So I went home and charged my little cordless drill that I had, and took 5 hours to charge each battery back then, and I'd get them both charged, and I'd go in after band practice. Sometimes I ran home, got a bite to eat, and he would hang out in the school while I tore that apart. One day I brought my Sheltie with me, and she just hung out, and she would stay with me, and Jack had 2 Shelties, and she was just laying up there beside my boombox while I was playing music, and I came out from underneath the plywood after I was tearing apart some stuff. I'm like, "Where'd my dog go?" And so I walked up through, and I thought, oh, maybe she went over to the band room or something. No, and then I heard Jack yelling, "Come on, Governor!" And so I started walking down the hallway, across the hallway, past the gymnasium towards where the cafeteria is.
Yeah.
And I could hear him, calling her. And I got in there, and he was pulling food out of the fridge and giving her treats.
From the fridge.
From the fridge in the cafeteria. And he was like, "Oh, I love your Sheltie. I have too." And, she went back and hung out with him in his office until I was done. But
And they would allow dogs in there.
it was summertime. I just brought her along. I don't know. It was like, it was him and me, and that was it in the school.
Oh, there's not even janitors and stuff.
Nobody else was there. No one else was there that day. There might have been a lunch lady there. I don't know. I didn't really see anybody else, but we were up on a hill for 4 hours playing, so, playing and learning drill and whatever, and then I was working on that. It was hot, and just kind of was what it was. But
was it all what kind of time for would you ever see like any time for like leisure with the band as like a whole with like Shaffer? Like, would you do like anything like ice breaking activities or something? Is that not his like style?
not really. Third quarter football games, we got to walk around and get food. We weren't allowed that my first year because those uniforms were brand new and they didn't want to get anything on them.
Oh,
But after that, then we were allowed to take the third quarter off, get something to eat and warm up, move around, and then fourth quarter we better be back in the stands. Usually it was about a minute left. We had to be back in the stands on the third quarter, if I remember right.
sounds right. Do you have any stock tunes or anything that like you played a lot that you have very fond memories of? I think you mentioned Tequila as one of them.
Yeah, Tequila was one. Played Proud Mary. Jeremiah was a Bullfrog. That's the ones I can remember. And then we played CHS a lot, Notre Dame. And, played the Alma Mater. Played Star Spangled Banner. And our show. And I still, to this day, I might not have it all remembered perfectly, but I still remember some of that show music I marched to.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I use some of that stuff to warm up with when I play.
Really?
Yeah. Usually Poet and Peasant, because it just kind of runs up, starts lower and just runs kind of way up there, and then, some tonguing and stuff in it. And if I'm playing at church, that's kind of what I usually just use to warm up with. And maybe some Buckaroo Holiday from Rodeo from Aaron Copeland. So,
yeah. Who do you remember as like the drum majors or assistants or instructors that would have also been there alongside?
Well, we had Jason Link my first year. We had April Walters my second year I marched, and we had Justin Willing my third year I marched. They were all good people. Jack was always there. Barry Malott was always there. And then you always had Don Henry was hanging around, Dave Hagstrom. Uh, always saw those two guys there. Dave Horetsky, after he graduated, he was there. Oh, boy, I'm trying to really racking my brain on this one.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, it was pushing 30 years ago, so that's sad to say. Aaron Keebaugh, he took me under his wing my first year, which was his last year. And he helped me out a lot. And then, he came back a little bit and helped. Ryan Keebaugh and I, we got pretty tight there later on, and Nick Niedermeyer and I. Both those guys marching cadets in 97. And we did, a couple of us had gone out to Allentown for DCI East. Jack asked if any of us wanted to go, and a few of us did. We went out there and watched cadets practice and watched DCI East on Friday night and then Saturday night when they went on. And they were playing, it was Year of the Dragon that year. It was music on Philip Bliss.
Would this be something that Shaffer would do with his students? Would he ask them to come out and watch the?
Yeah, I mean, he'd be like, "Hey, does anybody want to go along? It's this much, to cover your part of the hotel, and this much for your tickets." And and the one year I went. In fact, 97 and 98, my dad pulled the band trailer both those years, and I pulled it a good bit too.
Oh, really?
Usually Friday nights, after I got my license. Friday after school, I'd hook up our Ram Charger to the trailer, pull it over, we'd finish loading it up, I'd drive it home, my dad would get home from work, we'd get in and go to a football game. There was one night we had a game in Bald Eagle and he had to work late, and so he called me on the phone, asked me to drive it all to Bald Eagle. My mom and sisters rode with me, and he met us over there, and then the following week I had to drive it down to West Virginia in Bellwood for 2 competitions.
So you were still, the band was still like doing competitions like out of state too?
Yeah.
Well?
Oh yeah, we were West Virginia, Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, Maryland. Had competitions in Frostburg, Hedgesville, West Virginia, Martinsburg, West Virginia. Out around Pittsburgh, I remember being in Enola. I'm trying to think where else. There was stuff over Richland, Johnstown area, Ebensburg, up there at Central Cambria. I don't know. We were a little bit everywhere. Bellefonte, usually we always did. He didn't really keep us in we were in Chapter 11. That was our TOB chapter. And usually we kind of went, he took us other places too and kind of exposed us to other areas so we weren't just competing in our area. I don't know if that was kind of like a little bit of a clout thing. Like we'd go down to Frostburg and we'd beat everybody down there. And we'd go to Enola, and I mean, if we didn't beat the Group 4 bands for scores, that was the kind of perfection he wanted. Like he wanted us to not only be the best in our group, but to beat everybody in our competition that we were, even the bands that we weren't directly competing against, he still wanted us to beat them.
He was looking at the high scores and stuff.
He was looking at the high scores. That was the kind of, I'm not going to say pressure, but that was the expectation that he put on us.
So like how often, like how many competitions would usually be every year?
Usually it was like 2 a weekend.
2 a weekend?
2 on a Saturday, nothing on Sunday.
And this was every weekend?
Almost every weekend.
Wow.
Except for chapters and ACCs. And then usually there was a USS band or US band competition that we did up at Giant Stadium. That was the week between ACCs or chapters and ACCs. So chapters was the end of October, beginning of November. There was a week off, and then you had ACCs after that, which was usually up at Scranton for us. But that week in between, we went to Giant Stadium a couple times, and those were like cadets-inspired shows. Like they were sponsored by like cadets, stuff like that. So they graded you way harder. way harder. And that was the first time I ever saw bands from Miami playing, and the kind of more HBCU kind of thing.
Yeah.
That there were people from all over the East Coast going to that.
Many different styles of bands.
Yes. And I remember my last year, Governor Livingston. Yeah, we thought we had a pretty darn good show. We thought we were a real good contender. We were first place going into that. And we were watching Governor Livingston outside of Philly. And then they came out and killed some bagpipes, and we were just like, no, we didn't get first. And Pittston beat us by 100th of a point.
Wow.
So we got third that year.
This was at Giants Stadium?
This was at ACC's.
Okay, ACC's.
Yeah.
So you're averaging like two competitions a weekend?
On average, yeah.
Would the schedule the schedule would be throughout the season? Like, would this be like even like from the very first like football game you'd be starting out these?
Yeah, so we'd have a football game Friday night, and then Saturday, I think like the first week or two, it might have been one competition. And then after that, it was two competitions every Saturday, usually. We do one early afternoon, and then there'd be one in the evening.
Would you have to travel a whole lot from one competition to another?
Yeah, the one that I had to drive, because my dad had to work, the first competition was in West Virginia, down in Hedgesville. So I pulled our band trailer down to that. I had two grandparents riding with me of another band member. They rode along with me. And we pulled out of the high school, and we drove all the way down to Hedgesville. We practiced for an hour and a half. We did our show. We packed everything back up in the truck, drove to Bellwood, and then unpacked again, did that show, and packed it all up. And my dad got there. I remember him and my mom showed up not long after we got into Bellwood, and my dad's like, "Where's the truck at?" And I told him, and he was like, "Okay." I said, "When we get done with this, I'm taking a nap." I was tired. I drove for 6.5 hours on the road that day.
Oh, I bet they went.
Which, I know, kind of sounds a little unreal for a 16-year-old doing it, but my dad just didn't really want anybody else driving his truck, just for legal issues and whatever else. And he trusted me, and he taught me how to tow and taught me how to drive, and he felt safe with me pulling it, and I felt totally fine doing it. So I didn't really have any issues. Pulling out of the parking lot, though.
Oh boy, I can't even.
This is a good one. You'll like this story. So pulling out of the parking lot, the bus is in front of me. I'm behind the bus, and we're pulling out. And that tour bus, he went out the end way that all the school buses come in. So he had to make that goofy right that was, kind of weird. And I'm falling down, and I stopped when he stopped, and he started backing up, and I felt like I left him enough room, but I wanted to give him a little bit more. So I look in both the mirrors, nobody's behind me. I'm like, okay, I'll back up a couple feet. And went about 10 feet, and boom. I was like, oh my God, what happened? And I got out, and Jack's cracker truck was sitting dead in line with my trailer. I could not see it in the mirrors. And I backed into him.
Oh.
The best part of that whole thing was he was convinced he hit me. And I got out and walked back, and he got out. And he's like, I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, you just kept getting closer and closer. I kept slamming on the brakes. I was like, I backed into you. He's like, no, I'm telling you, there was something wrong with this truck. I thought there was something wrong with the brakes. I'm like, no, I backed into you. Everybody else that was riding the truck, Don Henry, Dave Hagstrom, Dave Ratsky, they all knew what happened.
Yeah.
They were all kind of laughing about it. It did no damage. It hurt nothing at all.
It was like he was convincing himself.
I think he was trying to take the blame off of me. I don't know, but I was like, no, I backed into you. It's my fault. I'm really sorry. And we got down there and back. And then Monday after school, he had me hop in his black Lincoln hearse with him and ride over to pick up the cracker truck. He had it dropped off to check the brakes out on it to make sure they were okay. And I told him, I was like, I hit you. You didn't hit me. But I said, I don't know. Maybe he really thought he did hit me. I don't know. But nothing I said to him convinced him otherwise. Although I know the truth. But I didn't want to shy away from it. I'm like, I screwed up. I'll own it.
Was there anything that had to be sorted out with like the school board or something?
No, we didn't say a word to anybody.
Was this just like the status quo is like when you're doing stuff with the band, you just kind of be like on the down low when it comes to.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, I'm not trying to, it was a different time. It was a different era.
Yeah.
You know, a young high school kid, didn't know any better, told, do it. Okay, I'll do it, you know. And yeah, now that I'm older, it's like, well, I wouldn't do anything different, you know. I mean, I wish I'd been a better student and a better band kid sometimes, but some of that was just me and my, you know, my stupid attitudes. And
Going back to the football games, uh, the seating situation, were you seated actually in the stands at the time where there's like a ramp now, or was it just in some other place?
oh, at the time, which side's the home side now? Is it on the side away from the parking lot?
Where you're sitting, it would be the scoreboard would be on the left. Yeah, so it'd be facing the parking lot.
Okay. We were on the opposite side. That was the home side then.
Oh,
So whichever side had the new bleachers, that was the home side. And that's where we sat. And we were all the way at the scoreboard was opposite of us. Like, wait, no, let me think here. Yeah, scoreboard. So if you're coming in from the parking lot, scoreboard's on the right, correct?
if you're parking the parking lot, you would look the scoreboard's on the right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we were on the far left of the opposite end of that. And then the band, we had in the main entrance building there where the gate is and stuff, we had food the band sold there, and then we had a trailer on the other side, and then there were portable pizza ovens sitting outside. My parents ran the pizza ovens,
Oh, cool.
so we had food on both sides of the field. And then usually the band trailer parked behind what is the home side now.
So going into say like when you were an upperclassman, so like 97, 98.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How were those like 2 years like specifically, like the general mood?
I don't know. It was good. 97 we lost, you know, that year, 97 and 98 when those kids graduated, we lost a lot of good people that year. We got some, you know, new people in, but you know, we lost Nick Niedermeyer, we lost Ryan Kabaugh, we lost Kella Barkman. Oh, I'm trying to think who else we lost that year, but we lost some very talented people that year. But our band in '98 was pretty darn good that year, and I was very proud of that band and what we did. And the show we played that year was a Copeland Portrait. We played Promise of Living, the Party Scene from Ranch House Party. Played Buckaroo Holiday. We played Appalachian Spring. Played Saturday Night Waltz. We played Red Pony. And I know there was another one in there that I can't remember. The year before that, we usually did a hymn every year, like a church hymn. But that year we didn't. It was all Copeland, and it was all Western themed show. My last year that I actually marched. The year before that, we played Poet and Peasant. We closed with Barber Seville. We all had bald caps on, so we took our hats off at the end of the show, and we were all bald. And somebody ran around chasing somebody else with a pair of scissors, like a big wooden cutout pair of scissors. Yeah. It was pretty funny. Like
who would make that?
Well, Ryan Kabaugh, he soloed the beginning of Barber Seville, sitting in a barber chair, and Erin Lighty, I forget her married name now. She sat there like going around. She was in charge of the guard. She was pretending cutting his hair.
Yeah.
And at the end, he was the only one who still had hair left, and everyone else was bald. It was just kind of funny. We played Trish Trash Polka that year. We also played it in '95. We played When Peace Like a River. We played that on the field. Oh, I'm trying to remember what else we played. We played a lot. We played quite a few songs. Appalachian Spring was our warm-up that year. So
was it a warm-up on the field?
It was warm-up on the field. So where most of the other bands would just kind of do a scale, whatever,
yeah.
You know, and the drums would do 8 in a hand or whatever, you know. Okay, they did that. That was cool. We all come down in the goal section, in the goal area of the football field.
Yeah.
We come down 3 abreast. We kept our spacing, and then we'd all turn at the exact same time, like swinging gates, and make one solid line right on the goal line. And then for 64 counts, we'd get a tap, tap, to tap, 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 and then come straight across full cadence. And every 8 steps, you were on a line. And we kept a perfect straight line all the way across the field for 64 counts. And stopped, and as soon as we stopped, the horns were up. And Jack was out there, usually in a purple do-rag on his head. Football games, he dressed up. He dressed professionally for the football games. But for competitions, he'd be out there in his holy jeans with paint on him. His one pink, one blue sock, purple do-rag on his head. Usually had a dress shirt on and a tie. And then he'd just come out and he'd, start us off, and we'd do our little thing, do our warm-up. Usually it was like minute warm-up, whatever. And we would play that. And that was just kind of a little flex we did on everybody else that we just sneaked an extra song into our show without actually having it in our show.
Right.
And then we'd usually do like in our 64 counts and get to our first position for the field. And then they would do, are the judges ready? Is the drum major ready? And all the parents would yell, we're always ready. And drum major turn around, salute. Central, you may take the field for competition. They'd start directing, gun would go off, and we'd start our show.
The parents would yell that.
Oh, yeah, parents yelled that, yeah.
Wow.
Parents would be running stuff out in the field for the pit, help them get everything set in position where it needed to be. And then they'd all run off the field and get on the sidelines.
The band parents would actually get on the field.
Oh, yeah, they brought all the pit equipment on, set it all up where it all needed to be. We practiced that. The band parents would help us. In fact, I remember the one year, I think it was 2000, Chapters was at Altoona. They had just gotten brand new AstroTurf on, and they said nobody is rolling anything on this field. And it was they did that like a half hour before the competition started. And I remember being there when they told, like the judges brought it up to a couple of the band directors. I don't know why I was standing there, but I was, and I heard it all. And I was like, hey, why don't we all just pick the stuff up and carry it out? And I remember being there while Jack was talking with some of the judges, along with some of the other band directors, and they were all trying to figure out what to do. And so the judges gave everybody a little extra time to get on and off the field with this whole debacle going on. And so I remember helping almost every single band at night, picking up their pit stuff, carrying it on the field, and setting it down so it didn't roll.
You would help the other bands.
Everybody helped everybody.
All hands on deck.
Everybody helped everybody. There were parents from other bands helping us. We helped them. I mean, it was just, thinking back now, like, it was just like, wow. Like, for like the 10 or 11 bands that were there that night, like, I mean, everybody helped each other. If some band didn't need help, then okay, whatever. But like, we were all in that same predicament together. Like, everyone helped everybody, and I remember that. I remember helping Bellwood. I remember helping Bellefonte, DuBois, and all kind of stuff that year. But we all just kind of pitched in and helped each other. The judge gave everybody a couple extra. They gave everyone a couple extra minutes to get on and off the field, and we just did what we had to do and just tried to,
Just because they weren't willing to bend on.
Yeah. And I forget who was hosting that year. The next year, Central hosted, so we actually had it out at Central's field, out in Roaring Spring.
Okay.
And then that was just like, yeah.
Yep.
So I kind of helped with that and, whatever, directing parking and stuff. And,
So when you did your march on, that warm-up, so was everybody like on opposite, was it like opposite end zones, or was it the same end zone?
We all came on the same end zone. So if you're looking at the field, we always came in on the left. And then we'd make our line, and then we'd come straight across. And at count 64, we all, stopped, and horns were up and ready to go. Said he'd be there, and, and then he usually gave us a little pep talk, and like, all right, you guys know what you need to do. Let's do it, like, okay. And,
where would Shaffer be while you were all playing?
If we were on like the 30-yard line, he might be at the 35-yard line. So it'd be like 5 yards away from us. I don't know. Wherever he could be within talking distance of us, and we'd all be able to see him.
While you were playing?
While we were playing.
Oh.
And then we get done playing, he'd be like, all right, then he'd give us the drum major and he'd mark time mark and get our taps, and we'd go and get in position.
Yeah, I remember seeing like a video. It was like probably like 1987 or 88. I have it posted on YouTube, but I think Joe Greenleaf actually posted the game. I think it was against Hollidaysburg.
Okay.
There was like a little snippet of you playing like a pre-game show, and I see him like in his jacket, like kind of orbiting closely towards like the the musicians.
Oh yeah. When we'd be on the field playing, he never watched us. He always turned his back to us and he put his head down and just listened. And just listened to what was coming out of the horns. Barry watched us on the drill, but Jack never watched. He just listened. And even when we practiced up on the field, he would just turn and stand against the fence across, right at the end of our field, and he would just listen the whole time. And I just remember seeing him standing there, like hands on his hips, just head down, just listening. And as soon as somebody would, something wouldn't sound right or something wasn't balanced, he'd turn around, just stop us, and then he called you out. And
wait, was this during the show?
No, not during the show, but like during practice. But like I just remember,
yeah.
like during the show, he never watched us. During practice, he very rarely watched us unless Barry wasn't there. Then he would watch us. But it was just kind of like the same thing all the time. Like he just always just let his ears do the listening and would just take it in. And then we get all the judges' tapes Saturday night. He would get them all. And then Monday, at our last half hour lunch break, or even before school in the morning, we'd sit there with tape recorders and we would all listen to the judges' tapes. Usually I'd listen, all the brass people would listen to the brass tape, or, most of us would, and the general effect and the visual. The drum guys always listen to the drum tapes and would just listen to the judges criticize them, what they liked, what they didn't like, what needed cleaned up. Like, we were all vested in that. And it was just the environment we were in, and we all cared, and we just, we were focused on doing the best we could.
After you would, look at those like kind of tapes, how would you factor that into like the practice afterwards? Or, like, would you bring the tapes like onto it like a specific stop? Or
I don't know, we just listened to the tapes throughout the 10-minute show, and then Jack would say things to us in the morning or at lunchtime when we'd be playing, like, oh, the judges said this, and be like, okay, or if we hadn't heard the tape, that okay, I want to listen to that now, I want to hear what they said about us. And you could also, the judges are out there on the field with you, running around the whole time. Our favorite thing was when we get a judge trapped in the middle of a block and we, hit them. They couldn't dock us for that, so it was like, we had a couple different subsets where you'd have like a football-shaped thing and then it collapsed in on itself and reversed. And if an unfortunate judge happened to get stuck in there, well, that was his problem.
I heard like Mr. Delozier like used to be like.
Yep, he was a judge. He would put these real thick glasses on, try to make himself not look like how he did in middle school.
Yeah.
When he was the band director in middle school, and he put like these really thick glasses on and a hat down, like try to like make himself kind of hidden, but it was like you knew it was him. And it was just like, okay, cool, he's here, Would
he ever like kind of like give like little pointers like, oh, this is what the judges would be thinking?
No, we just usually listen to the judge tapes.
Just the other judge tapes.
And just listen to them and hear what they had to say, and that was it. He had to be impartial, so he couldn't, none of the judges like would go one way or the other with the schools. Like, they were all pretty impartial, but it was just like what you listened to was about your show. And it was like, well, that brass, this line here was a little dirty. You might want to clean that up. You're marching here. Somebody was out of step, like stuff like that. It was just like, you dress that line a little bit, cover better. That was just kind of it. Like,
were small fundamentals like that, like, were those like really crucial in the point values going into it, like being
step? Yeah. When you added all that little stuff up together, 10th here, 100th here, like, it added up. And then, you might be looking at, what we could, fix in a week would jump us up 3 or 4 points. And, when the beginning of the year started and we're sitting around an 80, and at the end of the year we're at a 95, 94, 95, 96, 97, somewhere in there, for a score. Like, I mean, that was, and the more we kept playing, like, the more we played, the more we marched, the cleaner it got. And, progressively, we just got better as a band throughout the whole thing. I mean, of course, the more you practice, the better you're going to get. But,
Right.
like, once the spring concert was over, we had our show music for that year, and we started practicing it in May. And then June, we'd be down there 2 to 3 days a week, 4 hours a day playing. July hit, Barry had the drill rope, we started up on the hill. By that point, you better have your music memorized. And if you don't, you're getting yelled at. And you didn't want to be yelled at. And so...
Was there always somebody?
Usually nobody had their stuff, like, really... I mean, you knew it, but you didn't know it confidently enough.
Right.
And then be like, that first week was the eye-opening one, or that first day, and it was like, okay, I'm going to go down, I'm going to go home, take my horn home, and I'm going to run through this stuff until I know it. And then by about the second week in July, like, I hardly ever even took my music out of my case anymore, because it was just, we knew it. I mean, maybe I left it there, left it out just for whatever, but, by August, we all had it memorized. And then I remember some 7-hour days from 8 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon with a lunch break in the middle, and being up on the hill, just marching and playing and marching and playing and marching and playing and getting this cleaned up, getting that cleaned up. And then, the little subsets and everything, and 150 something pages of drill by the time it was all said and done for a 10-minute show. And, and just, what we did back then.
We were always moving in that drill. There wasn't much like.
We very rarely ever stayed in one spot. There would be, for like impact of like a big note or something like that, maybe we would stop for like 2 or 3 seconds, play a projection, and it was, you gave it all you had, and then boom, we're moving again.
Wow.
And that was just how it was. Like I wouldn't be able to do it today.
No, I bet
not play and run around like I do. Or like I did back then. Like, I think I'd have a heart attack. I remember Barry telling us that 25, 30 years ago. He'd be like, yeah, I wouldn't be able to do this today. And I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. And he was my age then. And now I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. I'm at that age now. And yeah, I march parades all the time. But yeah. Excuse me.
You're good. So going into your senior year, how was kind of like the mood like?
Well, I wasn't there my senior year.
Oh, that's
because I'd moved.
Mm-hmm. Your final year, I should say.
I didn't know my final year was going to be the final year until it was, done.
Like just the mood.
So I knew the week going into ACCs that was going to be my last time marching at Central. And I was sad, but I wanted to do I'm like, if this is it, like, I just want to do the best that I can. And the following year, I had started hanging garage doors. I started out as a helper where my dad worked. He sold doors. I started hanging them. And I was up home like a week later, or maybe 2 weeks later, whatever it was. And I think it was like Liberty Days in Roaring Spring, and I was up for that. I was going to play in that parade. And Jack said to me, he's like, hey, I could really, do you want to play with us this year? And I was like, he's like, we'll figure out something for housing, whatever. Like, we'll figure this out. Like, I could really use you. And I was like, boy, I wish you'd said something to me a month sooner, because I just started working full time, practically full time. And he was like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I'm working full time now. Like, and that kind of blew him away. I was like, yeah, I'm just having school the last year. Like, I was like, I wish you'd said something to me a month sooner, because I would have worked something out. I brought my parents' camper up. I'd have slept in it. I didn't care. Like, I would have stayed at my grandfather's house. We would have figured something out. But yeah, so it was just like, I was sad going into my final year, like my final time that I knew I was going to march at championships, but I just tried to play the absolute best I possibly could that time. Not that I didn't every other time, but I tried extra hard to try to be the best I could that time. Yeah. Try to go out on a high note, and we were 100th of a point behind Pittston, so I couldn't really complain.
Post graduation, after high school, how would you say like your experience in Central's band like helped inform your life afterwards?
It matured me. I mean, I wasn't the most mature kid in high school, but I felt like, looking back, like band shaped me up a little bit, and I felt like, Jack called you out in your BS. He called you out if you weren't right. Like, he would call you out. He would do it privately, whatever, but it was just, he expected something out of you. And we all loved him because of that. Like, he was strict, he was hard, but he was fair. And I couldn't ask anything more of a teacher. Like, the teachers I had back, looking back, like, okay, yeah, I had some hard teachers, I had some strict ones, but they were usually pretty fair. And I respect them more now. Not that I didn't respect them back then, but looking back now, it's like, I have more respect for him the older I get. And, I mean, like, you could joke around with Jack.
Yeah.
You could joke with him. And we all called him Shafe. Like, it wasn't very formal with him. But, like, we all called him Shafe. Or old man. We made jokes. When God said turn on the lights, or when God said let there be light, you were there flipping the light switch on. I mean, we joked with him all the time. He would throw jokes back at us. We were stupid, rotten dips. Especially if you were... I mean, and there were different levels of stupid, rotten dips.
Yeah.
I was on the better end of that, and I've been on the worst end of that.
Would that mean something different depending on what Tony said it?
Yeah. They'd be like, oh, you stupid, rotten dip, or you stupid, rotten dip,
Yeah.
And, I mean, there was a difference there. I remember back in 10th grade, my sister was in gymnastics at Garver Y, and I was going to start playing the national anthem for gymnastics competitions. I had the national anthem memorized, except for two little spaces that I never played ever in my life up until that point. And I spent all weekend trying to figure it out, and I just wasn't getting it. And I thought, I'll go into school, I'll ask Shafe, and Market's Red Glare Bombs Bursting There. I just never played it, and I just wasn't getting it. And so I went in and asked him. I got yelled at so bad, I wanted to cry. Like, He laid into me, and really didn't give me a chance to explain myself. And then at lunchtime, he came out with the whole thing wrote out for me. And, he called me back to his office, and he gave it to me. And I tried to just tell him, I was like, it was just these two measures here that I just wasn't getting.
Yeah.
And I was trying, and I don't know. I was not getting it. And he was like, well, he didn't apologize for yelling at him. He was like, well, you have it now. Two things in life you never forget: your national anthem and your alma mater. I still have both those memorized to this day. Because that affected me that much, that yelling I got. And, I can still sit down today and pull out a horn right now and play them. I'll be 80 years old. I won't remember my own name, but I'll have those two pieces memorized. I know that for a fact.
But that was like always about just getting that good impression of Shaffer.
Yeah, I mean, he just wanted you to be the best you could and do the best job you could. And, I mean, obviously we always wanted to win, too. There was a competition in Bellefonte where a bunch of Bellwood kids that I used to go to school with, but now I'm competing against them, and they were giving me a bunch of crap because I'm a traitor and Benedict Arnold and all this other stuff. Well, at the end of the competition, they were all walking back to their buses singing a song about how great they are. And another friend of mine said to me, he's like, why don't we sing songs? Like, why don't we do something like that? And I was like, who beat them? I was like, we kicked their butts, dude. We don't need a song. We're better than that. Yeah. And we beat them by like 8 points. So
you showed it.
Yeah. I'm like, everywhere we go, people want to know who we are. Okay, Bellwood, whatever. Yeah. Look at the scores at the end of the night. Who beat who?
Yeah.
We wiped the floor with you guys.
All right. Is there anything else I want to ask?
I know I can have stories go like 100 different ways.
Right. Well, if there's anything else you want to mention, maybe I didn't strictly allude to. Don't want to put you on a spot.
No, I mean, I don't know. I said 8th grade. I was very humbled the first time I sat in that band room, and was very, very humbled very quickly because I thought I was a fairly decent, 7th going into 8th grader, and I realized that I really got to practice. Like, not that I didn't practice before, but looking at the first time I sat down with the Central High Band and played with them, and I mean, we played Candide. I know first song was Candide, and we played Candide. We played Beethoven's Fifth Symphony finale. We played A Mighty Fortress Is Our God. We played Trish Trash Polka, and we closed with Orpheus in the Underworld. I can't remember what our warm-up was, and I want to say there was another song in there, but I can't remember what the title was. Unfortunately, I moved a few times, and all those old programs and everything I had, they're all gone. I remember we had a t-shirt that year in 95. We all, got band t-shirts, and it was Music of the Masters. So it had Leonard Bernstein, it had Offenbach, it had some other ones on there, and they put Jack Schaefer's head. It was like, treble clef with like the staff running down, and everyone was kind of like a different music note, and they had Jack Schaefer drawn on it, and it was pretty funny. I wish I could find that shirt, but I know it's long gone at this point. But
oh, it's all good.
Yeah, and then I had our tour schedule on the back.
Well, we know it exists.
Yeah. If anybody has one, I'd love a picture of it because it was just an awesome shirt. But yeah, I just remember the first time I sat in that band room and being so humbled and was like, okay, I got to work. And, I got I couldn't play at all. I tried to, do what I could. I faked what I couldn't. But just try to do what I could. And then I was, we said we relocated up from Delaware the first time. And then I started taking private lessons with Frank Roebuck at Altoona at Russell Music. And, started running through the Arbor book with him. And I got better and got better. And then by the time 10th grade hit, I felt like I could, play with that band and hold my own there. And I felt like I did. And then it was just kind of funny, like when I would take my, he would want me to go, bring your band music in. We'll run through it together. And I'd bring it in, and there'd be stuff scribbled and crossed out, and there'd be all kind of little stupid things written on there, like, Shafe's having a good hair day today or something like that. I mean, it was just stupid things. We wrote notes to each other, like when we're trying to mark things off on, crossing this section out, somebody writes something funny, and you giggle about it, but try not to let them see you. And
would it be like little caricatures of him and stuff?
No, it was just like stupid things, like just like, Jack seems like he's in a good mood today or something, like. I mean, it was just like, it's having a good hair day or something like that. I mean, it's just silly fun,
You took it in good stead.
just inside jokes between us about him, or something, or, whatever. And, we'd try to sit with people we liked. And I'm not going to say I got along with everybody because I didn't. Not everybody got along with me. And some of that was just, I moved twice and, not that I'm complaining or anything because I'm not. I'm glad we relocated out to there. I'm forever glad I got to play in his band. Glad I got to learn from him. And I got to see way more of a musical world with Jack than I think I ever would have known. I don't know. I don't know if I'd still be playing to this day had I just stayed in Bellwood and went up through there. I really don't know. I kind of would like to think I would have. Um,
Do you felt like it wouldn't have been as strong if it was like not this
it
particular?
might not have been as strong. I really don't know. And even when I moved my second time, and had to leave Central, had to leave friends, had to leave the band behind. Um, I mean, like I don't know, like I felt like that was a family to me, and I get the competition schedule and whatever, and like I would try to arrange my life to drive up on those weekends and go to a football game, and if it was a home game, and then tag along and just help out and do like the band parents did, help roll pits on the field and stuff and whatever, and just to still be in. I just missed it, and I love being in that environment and doing it, even if I couldn't be one of the people on the field playing. But it just like I had that attraction to it, and being part of a band as good as we were, I just still wanted to be in it,
Yeah.
even if I couldn't. But to even help, I mean, I helped for quite a few years, all the way up till, oh, didn't really help in 2002. I'd started dating a girl from Bellwood at the time, and then funny thing was her grandfather and Jack knew each other from Bellwood because Jack grew up in Bellwood, him and his wife both.
Yeah.
And in fact, they're both buried down by the elementary school. Jack's headstone has Mickey Mouse on it, and I can take you right down to it right now. I know exactly what row it's in, where it's at. It's almost where Martin Street comes down and ties into University Drive. I believe it's one row up from that, and you go down there, and on the left-hand side, you'll see Mickey Mouse on his headstone. But Jack and Marilyn both grew up in Bellwood. But that was at the Davidsville competition. That was the last time I saw him alive. And then I'd found out in January I got hit with a norovirus and was really sick, and that's when I got the call that he had passed away. And I was able to make it up to his funeral, and just that was just sad. And he was relatively young then, but yeah, it was sad when he died. I probably see his grave as much as I do my grandparents. I probably could visit him usually about once, twice a year. If I'm down that way, I might just drive by and just look at his headstone and just remember him. And just thinking back, and then thankfully there's one video of YouTube where we're marching in a parade in Roaring Spring, and then I made my effort to try to put the band shows that I had on videotape to get them onto YouTube, so at least they weren't on a VHS tape possibly getting ruined.
Yeah.
And
those BVP videos, and I think Chuck Lamarck, I think.
Chuck, he had the one, and then and then I have my channel that I put a couple. I think I have like two from 95, 97, 98. I've been looking through because I had 99 taped and 2000 and 2001, but I can't find them anywhere. So I don't know. Where that stuff could have gotten to.
I recently saw a video of Henderson did is showing the awards at the end because they tied for, I think, Henderson second.
Yeah, that would have been my
99.
senior year.
Yeah, they showed the awards presentation there.
Yeah, I started watching that the other day. I didn't get a chance to finish it, but it was just kind of like I remember being there for that.
Well, if it's all right with you, I think if you're comfortable just ending it here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I really enjoyed hearing about your experiences. I hope older alumni have a chance to walk down this year, and newer alumni, and maybe even outsiders will have learned something here and go, that's cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, and appreciate it. So.
Yeah.